I'm Rob, and I'm going to be here with you until 4:00 this afternoon. So time for a guest now. The Advantage Travel Partnership is the largest consortium of independent travel agents in the UK, representing 350 leisure and business agents. Now, as we all know, travel has been largely off limits over the last couple of years, but as restrictions ease, they've had their first overseas annual conference in over 3 years. It took place on the beautiful Atlantic archipelago of Madeira, and here to tell us all about it is Advantage Travel Partnership CEO and prominent public figurehead for the travel industry, Julia Lo Bue-Said. Julia, good afternoon.
Hello, Rob. How are you?
I'm all good. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm good. A little jaded, a little tired, having just come back from Madeira, but raring to go.
Oh, sounds great. I'm really excited to hear all about your weekend and how it went. Now, firstly, let's get the serious stuff out of the way. Are you sporting a fabulous tan after your weekend away?
I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately, when you're hosting conference, other than a few kind of 10 minutes here and there of a bit of sunshine, and it was beautiful, I wasn't there long enough to get a suntan, I'm afraid.
Well, it's not fair, is it? Well, you have to go back, Julia. You have to go back when there's not a conference in the way and get yourself a tan. But so the first annual conference abroad for some years. Tell us, how was it? What was the purpose of it? How did it go?
It was, it really was fantastic. As you say, this was the first time that we were able to take delegates out to conference. We generally do a conference once a year overseas. The last time was in Cadiz in 2019. And Madeira was a destination we'd looked at some time ago. And unfortunately, clearly for pandemic reasons, we were unable to bring delegates out. So this time last year, we should have been, 2 years ago, we should have been out there, but, clearly unable to do that. But it was fantastic. I think, in terms of conference content and what we try to do for the conferences, we try to bring delegates obviously together. The idea of it is to network, to kind of re-engage, to meet new contacts, and really to come away some really key takeaways that you can bring back to your business. And I think a combination of many delegates hadn't travelled, quite a lot of them hadn't been to Madeira, and certainly a lot of them hadn't met with other delegates for quite some time. There was almost a feeling of, this was the time for me to reset my business. Let's talk about the last 2 years, let's talk about what's happened, but actually it's now about press the reset button and let's move forward. So there was a really special feeling, I have to say, very emotional at times. We did reflect back and we talked about the impact it had on a lot of my members, which are generally small to medium businesses, and also to them personally, how they felt during the pandemic, how they felt about being together, the journey they've been on. So, very emotional, but, coming out of the conference, hopefully everyone's come away really invigorated, inspired and really feel that Advantage has got their back and we're here to support them.
Oh, I love that. And so positive and definitely something to look forward to. And I love the fact that there was this huge emotional element to it, because it has been so difficult the last couple of years, hasn't it? Especially for anyone working in the travel industry, and especially for travel agents. Do you feel that we are turning a corner now? I know you said about pressing the reset button. Do you think there are bright skies ahead?
Absolutely. If you think about what we've been through and virtually shutting down a whole entire ecosystem, and within that, business owners who have built up businesses over generations, over years, and as you know, whether it's a cabin crew, whether it's travel agents, travel management companies, no matter what part you play in that ecosystem, it's been a really tough, emotionally draining time. And yes, it does. As trading starts to pick up, as restrictions have started to ease, we're all getting our travel bug back. I certainly feel that. And I think we can definitely see blue skies ahead. Definitely feeling much more optimistic. However, it's still tough. It's still really tough from a business context point of view in terms of running businesses, and we're all facing different challenges. So I think my kind of message throughout conference and what we were really trying to deliver was a message of real optimism, but realism. Let's be realistic. Just because trading is almost back to 2019, it does not mean that we can forget where we've come from, and certainly it doesn't mean that everything is back to normal, but we can definitely see blue skies in the distance, Rob. Definitely.
Oh, that's so nice. I don't want to sort of like harbour on the sort of negative or things that are inhibiting the industry at the moment, but what are some of the main issues facing the industry right now?
I think what we're seeing now, one of the real crises that we're trying to deal with is the labour shortage. Now, I know that's affecting the whole economic kind of labour market, but we've seen 200,000 roughly individuals leave the industry over the last couple of years. And we're trying to attract them back in a marketplace where some may say there is still uncertainty, and do I really want to come back into an industry when I've got bills to pay, and it may feel still a little bit uncertain. So I think we have a real big job to do as a sector to really showcase the image and profile of the industry, and also to show that you can make a career. And you might want to be a travel agent, you might want to be a lawyer, you might want to be an accountant, you might want to work at the airport. No matter what career path you want to take, there is a role for you in our amazing sector. And I think we all have a collective responsibility, and with government, to really showcase the sector for all its glory, and that it is coming back, and that it is secure, and it's all the great things that we know of it.
Yeah, and I must say, I still think the travel industry is an absolutely wonderful place to work, and I think it's a very viable career, and it is a great place. I do think there are some issues maybe at the moment in certain areas of the travel industry around pay and terms and conditions. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think, we have to ensure that the industry, not only is it seen as an exciting industry, but it does pay and reward well. And that's, that's tough. That won't happen overnight. Margins are very thin in certain areas, and we've got to make sure that, our people are rewarded fairly for the work they're doing. It's a professional service, and therefore we've got to be rewarded accordingly. But it won't happen overnight. Margins do need to improve. We've all got extra overheads that we're trying to contend with. So it's going to take some time to drive that, but without question, at the end of the day, it's people that make the industry, and without great people, we haven't won. So we've got to make sure that they are rewarded fairly and rightly for the role that they're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And business travel, obviously you deal a lot with business travel. It is recovering far slower than other areas, isn't it? Will it ever come back? How can we deal with the shortfall at the moment?
I think business travel it is slower. So what we're seeing, whilst corporates are now starting to put their travel policies together, and they are starting to re-engage with their corporate clients, we've got destination challenges. So Asia is still closed in certain areas. Whilst we're starting to see destinations like Hong Kong, Singapore easing restrictions, it's still effectively quite difficult to travel to those destinations. We've also got clearly the conflict that's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and the obviously planes are not flying over Russian airspace. That's prolonging the journeys as well. So there are a number of practical challenges in terms of location-wise for business travel, but also traveller behaviour has changed. So we're all working out, what does that mean? The travel warrior, the road warriors we used to call it, business travellers going from one meeting to the next meeting out on the road, 5 days a week. Effectively, has that gone? Do people want that? You've got the whole balance of life and duty of care. So, and a big one that we're all working towards, and not just in business travel, but obviously impacts corporates as much, is sustainability. How do we make sure that we can travel in a sustainable manner and responsibly? So we're all working out what that new norm looks like, and actually how do we make sure that we can deliver a really strong business travel proposition that helps businesses trade and re-engage with their clients, but do it in a manner that's probably more appropriate for a post-COVID world.
Perfect. And so going back to the conference, what were some of the main themes this year?
So main things this year, we started the first morning by reflecting back. So that was really looking at where have we come from, what the challenge is, what have we been through. We had Simon Calder with us who did a great overview of the last 2 years, and looking at all the key milestones through that time. And we then went on to looking at some of the industry challenges around regulation, staff shortages. We did talk a lot about that, and how does the industry really make sure that it's in the right place, as we said, to attract talent back. We spent quite a bit of time looking at mega trends, so what's some of those trading trends that we're seeing, but also traveller behaviour, how is that changing? And then really the rest of the conference was about imparting knowledge to the members. So we had a great session on sustainability, DE&I. So how do we make sure that as businesses we are delivering diversity and inclusion in a really positive manner, and we understand it. You know, how do we understand it so that we can not only shape our own businesses, but also shape our travel policies for our consumers and show that we are, delivering a really sustainable program for corporates. And also one thing that we did a bit different this time that we've not done before, which sounds a bit bizarre when I say it out loud, is, ensuring that we are bringing delegates to a beautiful destination, that we're not just stuck in four walls. So really delivering responsible tourism sustainably in a manner that enables our delegates to see the island. So on the Saturday afternoon, we spent the afternoon enabling our delegates to enjoy some of the experiences Madeira has to offer. So we had tobogganing down the road, as they call it. That was quite. I did try that. That was quite fun. We had, a host of delegates on the catamaran, sailing across the Atlantic, not quite across the Atlantic, but sailing, going for a bit of a sailing trip. So really enabling them to immerse themselves in the experience, which is, for me, was a real eye-opener. And one thing I've committed to do for future conferences is ensuring that we do take our travelling, do travel in a responsible manner, ensure that when we're bringing delegates to a destination, we absolutely give everyone the opportunity to sample the destination and not just fly in and fly out again. So that was a real eye-opener for me as well.
Julia, I've got to say, you sound like the perfect boss. I think I'm going to become a Travel Advantage Travel Partnership member.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask my team that. So I'm not sure what they'd say.
Oh, I bet they all love you. I bet they do. We're going to have a little short break now, but we're going to come back to speak specifically a little bit more about Madeira as a destination, because I know that you sort of fell in love with the place, didn't you, really? So we're going to have a quick break now. Keep listening to travel.radio, and I'll be back just after this.
This is travel.radio.
Still listening to Wednesday's Afternoon Travel here on travel.radio, your destination station. And I'm very pleased to say that I'm still joined by Julia Lo Bue-Said, who is the CEO of the Advantage Travel Partnership. Now, Julia has been telling us all about their first ever annual conference abroad in over 3 years. And they went to the beautiful archipelago of Madeira. So, Julia, tell me about Madeira. What is it like? I've never been myself, but I'd actually love to go.
Oh, Rob, you're absolutely missing a trick. You need to get yourself there. I think what was really interesting, considering we had 300 travel delegates at the conference, I would say probably 95% of individuals there had not visited Madeira before. And it was just beautiful. The stars were aligned, I have to say. We had beautiful weather. We stayed in the most wonderful hotel, which is the Savoy Palace Hotel in Funchal, which was finished building about 2 years ago. So it was completely, brand new hotel. And it's stunning. The island is incredible. And I think one of the things that the tourist board are really quite keen to do is really show Madeira and showcase Madeira for its glory, for the type of customers that would be interested in going there. I think historically they probably had an image of attracting a very mature clientele base, but it was nothing like that at all. And I must tell you a secret. Well, it's not really a secret, but it might give you the wrong impression of conference. But I'll tell you it anyhow. So as I was leaving very early Monday morning, I had a 3:45 transfer to the airport, so very early. As I was literally about to get into the car to come to the airport, I was, had a knock on the shoulder, and it was some delegates who had been partying all night, so they were literally coming home from the nightclub round the corner. So there was a lot of nightlife there. There was a lot of activity. It's buzzing, and it was only end of April, bank holiday weekend, but it was buzzing. traveling. It was just beautiful, and it's absolutely beautiful. And eating out there is still very cost effective. So it's really great value for money, great food, great wine, and so much to see culturally. Walking, great place to walk. But just if you want to sort of lie in the sun and you want to fly flop holiday, it's 3.5 hours from the UK. It blew our minds. I have to say, we've all come away so impressed at the island. And as I say, it was quite a new destination for so many, which was fantastic.
Oh, that's so nice. I can really feel your passion for it as a destination. And you've definitely made me want to go. Are you sure that wasn't yourself rolling out the club at 3:45 in the morning straight into a taxi?
Don't tell anybody, but it might have been.
I knew it. So, have you got any holidays planned or anywhere on your bucket list that you're absolutely dying to get to?
I tell you my problem now, probably like all of us I have travelled the last couple of years, but obviously not as much. I kind of want to go everywhere. I think that's my problem. So I was in New York in December, and I just want to desperately go back. But I'm hoping to get to Portugal for 10 days in July, and then I've got a plan beyond that. But I seem to want to be going everywhere. And I think the problem is right now I'm becoming very undecisive because I want to go everywhere. So when I'm looking out of my window now, it's actually pouring with rain. I kind of feel that I need to be back in Madeira, but nice to have lots of places that we can all dream about and actually get to now, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is hard making decisions about where to go next, because we've got a whole world in front of us that is ready to welcome us with open arms, which is a great thing now. You're a very prominent, respected and eloquent voice for the travel industry, and especially throughout the pandemic. Now, at the moment, we're seeing numerous negative headlines which will not only knock consumer confidence at a time the industry is trying to get back on its feet, but could be said by many to be actually quite unhelpful. Now, do you think they are balanced, some of these negative headlines? Because all we're seeing is staff shortages, cancellations, delays to passports, but we're not really hearing about all the positive aspects around travel. We're not hearing about your story about, how wonderful Madeira was. And I'd also like to know, actually, on top of that, what was your travel experience like to and from Madeira?
So maybe let me take that one first. So I flew from Stansted on the Thursday of the bank holiday. So again, a busy time to travel. I had a bag to drop off, so I queued for about 15 minutes. And I promise you, at Stansted Airport, there was no queue at all. I literally sailed through security within minutes. And that was the experience generally for delegates. The only problem area, I think, was Manchester Terminal 1 that I heard some delegates had a real issue in, but everywhere else it was seamless. And I think, the issue is you cannot shut an industry down for 2 years and expect it overnight to be back to seamless travel as it was. Now, that's not excusing the industry. We have to learn and we have to improve, and there'll always be bottlenecks. We've all travelled even pre-pandemic. If you're travelling on a busy morning, a Monday morning from an airport at 6 peak hours, 7 o'clock in the morning, there are always bottlenecks because it's busy. So I think we have to be cognizant of, what are those issues that we have to deal with? How do we make sure that we can get customer service at as a priority to deal with as an industry, and do all we can to make sure that we can deliver a brilliant service to consumers and that's what they should be getting. So I think the headlines, ultimately, headlines sell papers, and we're never going to have a headline that says, fantastic holidays are back or whatever it is. I think it's really difficult. So, but I think what we have to do, and one of the things that I've been trying to do and Advantage has, is just present that story to the media in a very balanced way about the reality of what's happening, and actually the best way that a consumer can have the most seamless travel experience. So, and that's what we try to do. So, our media message will always be, think about who you book with, when you book and how you book. They're really important points to think about. That gives you either financial protection or somebody at the end of the phone if you need them. Yeah, I think with the media, they're a great ally. We work very closely with them, but I think it's incumbent on all of us in the industry to make sure that we can give a very balanced view and educate consumers as we can.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I've just come back from a weekend away in Porto, and I had an absolutely seamless travel experience in both directions. But actually, I mean, there were queues at passport control in Portugal. That's just probably because of Brexit since then, because the EU channels were actually really clear. But hey, I'm not going to wade into politics on this one. But the rest of it was absolutely perfect. I couldn't have complained. And Heathrow itself, Terminal 3, was completely and utterly packed full of people. I mean, it was a great feeling, but there was no problems. I sped through security. Everything was dealt with very well. Boarding was done in a very orderly fashion as well. And I had a great travel experience in both directions. We just don't hear about that, do we?
No, we don't. And that's my point, I guess. What we have to do is, it's about being honest, and it's about, educating consumers in the right way. And the passport, not the passport, the airport, I mean, there's been so many, the airport chaos headlines, we were out there, we were really trying to make sure that the media could get our view and the experiences of our consumers and us travelling, so that we are educating, it is balanced. And the passport, the passport chaos headlines, I mean, that just causes even more confusion and panic. But we are where we are, and actually obviously those issues they're not the travel industry's issues, but unfortunately we are left kind of trying to ease consumers who have booked, and how do we help them when they've got those issues and caught up with those. So I think it is difficult, but as I say, we have a duty to make sure that we can lift our heads above the parapet, not be afraid to talk to the media, even when those headlines are negative. We have a voice, and we must use it in a really balanced manner.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Julia, you're doing a very good job of it. And on behalf of everyone in the travel industry, thank you very much. Now, just before I let you go, now is definitely the era of the travel agent. I think we can all say that with absolute confidence. Travel agents are the best people to be booking with, especially post-pandemic. They are the experts in their fields. What are the biggest sellers? Give us some travel inspo at the moment. What destinations are really, flying off the shelves?
Yeah, so I think, in terms of what we're seeing right now, I mean, Turkey is doing phenomenally well. That's in our top 10 all the time. Portugal, Spain, so some of the traditional destinations. But the US is doing phenomenally well. So certainly in our top 10 all the time. And I think if you look at the US, borders only opened in November, if I remember, end of November. I think end of November they opened, or beginning of November. So actually, it's quite, when you think about actually those borders being closed all that time. So there is a real kind of desperate urge to get out there, and we're certainly seeing that coming up in our top 10 on a regular basis. But I think as we're starting to see now with the world slowly opening up, hopefully we'll have more destinations that we really can start to enjoy and get to, particularly Asia. I think Asia is one that we're really keen to see that from a business and a leisure point of view open up as soon as possible.
Yeah, and lots of parts of Asia are slowly opening up, aren't they? But I'll tell you what, Julia, you've definitely made me want to go and book a holiday right now.
I've got a few members that can help you. Just let me know.
Perfect. Just point me in the right direction, please, because I'm all about the travel agents. I really am. Big up all the agents out there. Julia, it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to have you on the programme. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for telling us all about the fantastic conference that you've just been to in Madeira. And I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me back on.
My absolute pleasure. Please do come on again. That was Julia Lo Bue-Said, CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership.